We've been looking at different death magic spells, and the explosive Ghostflame is a very cool one, very situational, but very interesting nonetheless, and this one essentially creates a Ghostflame explosion that deals an initial AoE chunk of damage, followed up by a pool of Ghostflame on the floor around you in all different random directions that can even reach relatively far, and even applies the Frostbite status effect that causes enemies to take a chunk of damage similar to bleed, which then causes them to take an increased amount of damage by about 20%. So instead of doing continuous chunks of damage like bleed, it does a single chunk and then a debuff for you to apply more damage to them. The description for this spell is actually quite interesting as well. It says, in the time when there was no Erd Tree, death was burned in Ghostflame, and the death birds, which are the bosses that appear at night, were the keepers of that flame. And it goes in nicely with the lore of the game and the fact that we actually get this by killing a death bird. Also, because it's a death sorcery, it will work with items like the Prince of Death's staff that will boost death sorcery's damage. In addition to that, because it's a death sorcery, it requires both int and faith. It's 42 int and 30 faith, so you will have to have a slightly hybrid build for this. The area where we can find the bird to kill to get the spell is in the consecrated snowfield, which will require you to have done the Haligtree secret medallion parts to gain access to this area, and if you haven't done that already, don't worry, we have a video that you can see on screen now already on the channel that will walk you through it really clearly. Within this area, it's at the very end of the frozen river that you can see here on the map. However, it's not quite that simple because there's a walking mausoleum slightly to the west that shoots a barrage of artillery with huge AoE explosions all over the area where you will be fighting the boss. So first you need to actually go slightly west of here and actually attack the feet of this walking mausoleum to break the skulls in order to make it retreat into the ground, and then you're safe from its constant barrage of artillery. And trust me, you will want to do this. There's nothing worse than getting the boss low and then getting blown up by a random AoE fired from across the map. The boss will only appear at the end of the frozen river at night time, so make sure to fast forward to night time, make your way there, and then try your best to defeat it. You will not be able to summon. The boss deals a lot of damage with its attacks, so this is probably the most difficult Deathrite bird in the game if I'm being honest. I found that using my horse was very helpful, but in the end, as a cheese sorcerer, I decided to just beam it with Comet Azure so I could get the spell for myself and test it out and share it with you guys. If you are playing a magic class though and you want to improve your items and your spells so that you can beat it a bit easier, we have several videos already on the channel that go over all of the different spells, items, talismans and things like that that will make you significantly stronger and will make this boss fight a lot easier. The actual spell Explosive Ghostflame though is very good for crowds of enemies and even bosses if you have a distraction, as it does have a rather long cast and recovery time, but because it has that lingering ghost fire on the floor that also triggers Frostbite, this is actually very useful to do on a boss until you've got that Frostbite proc, and then you can go into your burst damage sorceries and weapons to finish it off. If you know of any other interesting sorceries or items, let us know down in the comments below. Of course, drop a like and do subscribe, or click the video on screen now because we have plenty of guides, tips, farms, locations, builds and all that good stuff on the channel already for you guys.